Welcome to our South African roots. The wealthy man model. It is of the utmost importance that we start supporting our wealthy businessmen. I know that's a strange place to start in this guide. However, I find that in today's society we tend to demonize our wealthy to the detriment of our economy and our workforce opportunities. In order to express my point, I'm going to take a look at a wealthy man. It's difficult not to look at Elon Musk for an example, seeing as we are all aware of who he is. Elon Musk has become one of the world's most wealthy men. His wealth is extraordinary, and it is something that most of us will not be able to obtain within our lifetime. We can argue all day long whether it's fair for someone to have that amount of wealth, or perhaps whether he should need to donate large quantities to charities or dictate how he should spend his money. However, that's not the point of this discussion. The point of this discussion is to show that Elon Musk creates jobs. If we place one wealthy man within a society and equate his wealth to how many jobs and workforce positions he makes available to his employees, you will soon see that not only is he wealthy, but he is creating wealthy people through the companies and businesses that he runs. He employs educated individuals and pays them fair wages. This is something that a good fair amount of people have for some reason forgotten in South Africa. The poor cannot make people rich. The poor cannot create employment opportunities, and they do not have the capacity to have the ideas that the rich have or the funding available to them to create empires. When you are poor, your main priorities tend to center around basic needs. You cannot focus on the world's problems when you do not have food on your table and a roof over your head. There has been a targeted attack on the poor of our country, and they have been done a disservice. Alongside this attack on the poor, there has been an attack on businessmen, being unable to expand, not having the support required, and their rights are being limited. There hasn't been fair opportunity for the poor person to become educated enough to hold government liable for chasing away investors, and a lack of not producing job opportunities. The government would prefer they remain malleable, poor, and uneducated, crippling our economy. While the poor remain poor, the extensively rich have evacuated, leaving for safer home environments. Rich politicians gain from the country while feeding their families, while rich men gain from the country while feeding the citizens. Why is this a problem? The poor have not got the potential and capacity to question whether the governmental figures within Parliament that look like them, which they equate to them having their best interests at heart, actually have their best interests at heart, whilst they are all unemployed and uneducated. There is no doubt that this has been done on purpose. People are easier to lead when they can be led astray. At what point in society are we correcting this? Well, our hands are metaphorically tied as general citizens. Unfortunately, this uneducated and malleable statement applies to the majority and not the minority of the citizens within South Africa at present. People are still using race as a tool to determine a person's ability to lead a country, rather than looking at a person's character, ability, intentions, success rate, track record, education, leadership skills, and willingness to make changes that will benefit everyone. At what point do we realize that the politicians are so well paid that they became so far removed from the daily problems within our society? They don't care about their basic needs being met because they are being met in full on our taxpayers' budget, while the basic needs of others are being neglected. Just because a politician has the same race as the masses and majority does not mean they care about the people suffering below them. If that hasn't become apparent yet by just looking at your own communities, I don't know when it will sink in. I would argue that given the abilities that they have, the opportunities that they have, the funding that they have, and the continued support that they have, they could have almost undoubtedly have made a difference within our society a very long time ago, if they wanted to. Large quantities of our citizens that are educated, well educated, are leaving to better countries. Everyone rejoices as though this is a great news, but the people who are able to get into first world countries are not the types of citizens we want to have leaving. And as our population steadily increases with uneducated individuals, we are not filling the roles that the educated individuals leave. This is not creating more job opportunities, it's reducing job opportunities because the educated people have the money and the resources and the abilities to create jobs. We are supporting everyone but our country citizens' best interests. This is no longer a race thing. Citizens of all colors, once educated, are fleeing, especially across the races, the youth. They truly believe that they will be provided additional opportunities elsewhere. How are we filling the gap of educated individuals leaving, while the number of uneducated individuals steadily increases? Even when those countries are on the brink of war, some people still feel as though they will provide more stable environments than South Africa at present. How many industries have closed over the years and jobs must be lost while people are not making their bottom line before we realize that not only do the citizens need to have their rights, but the wealthy business owners need to be protected as well. I would go so far as to say that perhaps the rights of the politicians, given the opportunities to improve things and the fact that they don't seek those opportunities, needs to be reduced because they seem to have more value and more importance than every citizen and corporation within South Africa's best united interests. Without the wealthy, there will be no jobs. Without jobs, there will be no economy. And we can expect a collapse of an entire country. If you cannot feel it in your salary every month, the increase in hawkers, the alarms going off at night, night after night, the fear of Eskom turning the lights off and not being able to turn them back on for weeks, which means no food, petrol, water, or emergency service for a potential 4 to 6 week period, then when are you going to notice? When are we going to wake up and take responsibility and hold people accountable? Politicians can be wealthy men too, so long as the country is wealthy and prosperous and they don't use their positions to further the wealth to the detriment of their citizens. Politicians can be wealthy men too, so long as the country is wealthy and prosperous and they don't use their positions to further their wealth to the detriment of their citizens and local businesses' opportunities. I think I speak for a large majority of us who feel there is an imbalance in this category. With South Africa's unemployment rate at 33%, the crime rate is ever increasing. There's a drop in tourism because of the fear of crime and people's inability to provide for their families and the youth looking elsewhere to settle. I'm curious to see how many of us feel that the unemployment rate would drop drastically if our wealthy were given the opportunity and the means to become more wealthy to the exclusion of politicians. What opportunities would they create with the ability and support from their government alongside their citizens that need employment? I'm going to assume that the reasoning behind why no corrections have been made in our society today is because we have yet to have any good ideas as to how to handle the situation and tackle the issues head on. I have devised a guide and put it forward as a proposition for our businessmen, leaving the opportunity for open discussions alongside our citizens. Our genuine population are currently unable to make a change. However, the large organizations and corporations within our country can make a change. In fact, it will be rather easy for you to make a change, and if I might add, it may even be profitable. This guide is just to get ideas flowing, to get back to our roots and cut the root rot that is decreasing our country's general population's ability to thrive, while potentially in the process increasing businesses' revenue.